Okay, friends, we are going to be looking at how notes fit on the staff, and I'm going to go clef by clef. But as I've said before, if one person in the ensemble needs to know it, everybody needs to know it. So make sure you pay attention while I'm talking to a section, even if I'm talking to a treble clef instrument and you play a bass clef instrument, for instance. All right, treble clef instrument players. I'm talking about flutes, I'm talking about violins, I'm talking about clarinets and trumpets. Anything that's high sounding is a treble clef instrument. We are going to start by just examining that the staff is a graph. Did everybody hear that? Not just treble clef people. The staff is just a graph. So we're not going to do flats and sharps and anything fancy. We're just going to put some notes on here to examine how the notes fit in terms of letter names on the staff. And I'm also not taking into account the particular range of any instrument. So you might see notes that are higher than you're seeing in your book or lower than you're seeing in your book. None of that matters. We're getting a concept in order here. Okay, so I have penciled in where my fold lines are. You do not need to do that, but I did it because I know they can be hard to see in the video. And we are going to be drawing just whole notes. They're the easiest thing to put on the staff, so these do not represent bar lines either. So you see how we have this section right here, and this section here, and this section here. This is where we're going to begin. So 1, 2, 3 from the end. We are in the second space from the bottom, going to draw a whole note there, like so, okay? When you have a note in that space, that note is an A. So we're gonna put an A right underneath that. Now, I know some of you already know some ways of remembering the lines and spaces of the staff, and we are going to get to that, but right now we're just focusing on the fact that the staff is a graph. Well, what does that mean? That means that if a note looks higher, it sounds higher, and if it looks lower, it sounds lower. And of course, we use the spaces and the lines of the staff. So let's go over to our next little box over here, and we need to fit a few notes in there. So draw about the same size note, but this one, we're gonna circle that middle line. See how the line is going right through it? It's up one step, so we go up a letter in the alphabet. So that one is a B. Make sure you're doing it along with me here. Okay, let's put one in the next space up. You see how it's starting to look like a little staircase now, isn't it? So this is an A, this is a B, this is a C. The staff is just a graph. The note goes up, we go up a letter in the alphabet, the sound goes up. Well, what if we went to the next line? What would it be? A, B, C, D, of course. Let's do a few more in this direction. The next space would just be the next letter in the alphabet, an E. On the next line, next letter in the alphabet is an F. If we go up to the next space, it looks like it's sitting right on top of the staff. That would be a G. And here is where your music-specific knowledge comes in. You probably know by now, but if you don't, you're about to find out. We only use the letters A through G in music. So once we get to G, if we're going to go up another note, that note is going to be called A. We will revisit that idea in some future videos. Let's say I needed to go up higher. I'm out of staff, right? Well, we just get to add a line. So put an extra little line. This is called a ledger line. I'm not writing that in, but that is in fact what it's called. And we ran out of letters. This must be an A. Okay, so now we look at bass clef. The concept is the same, but the notes are positioned a little bit differently. So 1, 2, 3 columns back, we're gonna put an A in the very bottom space. Draw a note that takes up that bottom space and put an A. And just like you heard me say before, the staff is just a graph. I know you were paying attention. So we're going to draw notes that go up a line or a space. And of course, that means every time we're going to go up a letter in the alphabet. So if we're on the next line, obviously that's a B. If we go to the next space, That's gotta be a C. If we go to the next line, there's a D. Next space, an E. Next line, an F. You see how those columns help you space things out so beautifully. Next space, a G. And finally, if we get up here, I know you were listening when I said this before, do we use H? No, we do not. We only use A through G in the musical alphabet. So if we've gone up, 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 then this one must be called an A. Let's go back to treble clef for a moment. Those of you making a treble clef diagram, we already went up, but look at all this space over here. That is because we are going to add notes going this way. Now, you can already see what that's going to look like if you compare it to this. If you go backwards through the musical alphabet, let's go ahead and put a note right around this line that's second from the bottom. If this one was called A, is this called Z? No, it's called a G because that is the next step back in the musical alphabet. Next space down, what's back from there? An F. If we keep going backwards and we do a line note here, that's called an E. If we go another step back and we're dangling off the bottom of the staff now, I don't know why I made that one tiny, but I'm going to live with it. That's called a D. And then just like we did up here, if we want to add another note below the staff, we put a ledger line. We draw our note around that and we're at a C. That's everything you need to put in the treble clef book for now. We'll come back to the lines and spaces later. All right, bass clef instruments. Let's backtrack here and fill in some of these. So you already filled in this bottom space here. Let's put a note on the bottom line. What would it be called? Z? No, it would be called a G. I'm sure you already knew that. So let's label it with a G. The next one is going to be all the way at the bottom, so it looks like it's hanging off the bottom of the staff. What's it going to be called? A, G, F. And then, of course, if we needed to go a step lower, we'd add one of those little ledger lines you heard me talking to the other sections about. So draw yourself an extra line, put a note that goes around it, and what would it be called? A, G, F. That would be called an E. So for everyone, the staff is a graph. As the note goes up, you go up a letter in the alphabet. Going down, you go back a letter in the alphabet. So you can always use that to figure out what notes you're supposed to be playing. As long as you know what note you're starting on, you can figure out all of the ones after that using that method.